Hi, everyone. Welcome to Digital Experience. This is our iteration retro meeting. Today is Thursday, November 17th. We'll go over some of the things that went well this sprint and some things to improve on. First thing to bring up is John.
Hi, team. Finally, we are going to release the new changelog and version bumping process into our buyer experience pipeline. So one thing to consider for the reviewers of any merge request into buyer experience is to use conventional commits. I share a link there in our document. Please take a read and start implementing this new commit convention. It is needed because the library that we are using that is called semantic release reads these commits and it detects what kind of change it is if it's a major change, a minor change, a patch change. And it's really important for this library to know to read these commits using conventional commits. So please have it in mind. I will add some more documentation for you to know how the process works. But we will start doing new releases and new versions from now on. So please, it is really important to do this, to add these commit messages. I will pass it over to Laura.
Oh, wait, I'm going to say something.
Oh, okay, go ahead.
So I'd like to get this merged, like this iteration merged in, end of day. And then next iteration, we'll start practicing and using some of these conventional commits. You know, it'll be a test run. And by the end of next iteration, we'll create our first changelog using this process. It probably won't be perfect, and there will be some learning experiences as we go through it. But I think this is one of those things that we just have to try it and then iterate on it as we get it in there. What does the team think? It's kind of a big change. We got to put formatted commit messages in now.
What problem is this solving? Or if there's even a problem, I don't know.
We get a change log. So a document that says, here are all the things that changed in this iteration.
Is the changelog going to include only what's in the commit message, the squashed commit, or does it take everything it's squashed together?
Only the squash commit. So it is really important to do a squash, because if not, and someone has 20 commits in one merge request, all those 20 commits will be on the changelog, and that is not the idea. The idea is only to put in the changelog the commit or the issue or the topic of the issue. For example, we have a new navigation button, so it will say a new button is added, and not all the commits that were added doing or adding that button. So it is really important to have to use squashing. Also, this process will create a new version tags. So we will have tags with each new version, and whenever we need it, we can do rollbacks to any version we want using this new process. That is really cool.
Since squashing commits seems like it's pretty important, should we change the setting for the project and have that set to like required instead of optional?
Yeah,
so we could hit that checkbox.
Yeah, I will recommend that.
I'm pro conventional commits and also pro squashing, and do feel like it's a good change. A lot of overhead, however, like I'm open to try it and see how it goes for us. And if it doesn't work, then we can try something else. But I'm open to like going for it. The code's already written. Let's try it. If it's a chaos, then we can always go back.
Yeah, I think the same. And right now we are going to use some manual job. But if things go well, the idea will be to create a schedule and do a release every 2 weeks at the end of each iteration. But we are going to test it these days.
So the current implementation, every time you merge a change in, you make your special message, and you merge it in, and it increments the version for us, or we're just doing one version increment per iteration.
Yes, one version per iteration. So it is manual. So the manager, I believe Lauren, will run this job, and it will add all the things that we did on the iteration. So all the mesh requests will be on this new version. And that's it. There is nothing to add, sorry.
Can we just when we manually run this job to create the changelog, can we dictate if it's a patch, minor, or major version?
Yeah. So for example, we did 10 fixes, but someone did one feature. The fixes increase the patch version, but the feature will increase the minor version. So for that iteration, the version will increase in a minor way. And all the fixes will be added in the changelog as part of that release or that new version. Someone has any more questions?
The other question I was going to have is like, pretty much all of our page on our site, the code owners are us, and we need to merge. But if we open this up to let other teams edit content, and they don't follow the conventional commit message, is that going to cause an issue down the road?
Well, we have a commit analyzer. So if there is no conventional commit, the commit analyzer will try to detect reading the commit if it's a fix or a feature or something. So if we sometimes miss a conventional message, the library will try to detect which type of change it is. So no further questions, I believe. Yeah. So
I'll just finish. I'm gonna add one more thing. This is big. Yeah, I agree with Javi. Lots of overhead. But I think this is also a two-way door. We can try it. We can go back if it ends up not working.
Okay, I'm going. Okay, cool. Thank you, John. Mine is less cool and exciting. We're talking about removing slippers from the navigation repo, or like dealing with that package size. So there's a kind of simple solution of adding slippers as a peer dependency. We still also need it in order to run the server locally. So it also has to be a dev dependency. And so those are two separate kind of imports of that package, and that is fine. It is a fine solution. We can absolutely move forward with that. The only I guess con is that we rarely go and update the slippers version in navigation. Like it's sitting at, I couldn't tell you what version, 2 dot something, whatever. But if we make changes to slippers, we have to manually go in and make changes to our local navigation, and those changes will be different than what it pulls in when we bring it into buyer experience, because it'll be using the buyer experience version of slippers. So you could see some like discrepancies there, which is a bit of a pain, but not the end of the world. The other option that our team has kind of discussed a little bit is, do we need slippers in our navigation? It's very lightweight. There are some text styles and a few icons. And so I made a proof of concept MR to remove slippers from navigation, and it did need about 150 lines of CSS, but that is also an option. But again, the con is that if we make changes in slippers and try to bring them into our navigation, like we need to make those changes manually. So, you know, pros and cons of either path. I linked a note here where I kind of go over that. And my recommendation would be to start with having it as a peer dependency and see how that works. But maybe there's a future when we don't use slippers in the navigation at all, because it's pretty self-contained. But yeah, if anyone has thoughts or feelings, feel free to comment on that MR or any of those MRs or issues. I'll be watching. Okay. And I have one more thing that I didn't add in there. This is another addition to buyer experience that has not been merged yet, but I'm going to share my screen for a quick sec. Okay, so this is my repo. I've added this HTML validator to the buyer experience site. It starts showing errors on your local server when you run up your server. So this is like the home page. It's showing me like buttons can't have divs in them, which is really helpful to know for hydration errors. My server is still running. This doesn't like bail out my server, but it is kind of a pain because it doesn't show the actual line, right? It shows the compiled line, but not the actual, like where to find this problem in your code is very difficult. I've been going to the browser dev tools and searching for a button, finding the button that has a div in it and changing it in the code. But yes, this is something I was thinking of adding to buyer experience to kind of help with some of those issues. So my thinking was that I would go through and fix all the major errors on like the top couple of pages. But how does the team feel about having that implemented? Is that like super distracting during your local development? I'll link the issue where I'm doing it and you can let me know your thoughts and feelings there too. Okay. Right.
Sorry, Laura, I didn't catch. So we can run this on the development process and also on the build one. So in the create files.
This one is just in development. It's just a dev dependency. So it would just be for local development. Just to show you where you have issues. We could probably look into running it on the build step. I don't know if that's what we want. The errors are kind of useless because they don't show the actual line or where the error is occurring. But yeah, I can look into improving it. There are also like in the Nuxt config where I imported that module, there's also a section of like rules that you can turn off and turn on. Like if people are seeing rules that they don't care for that like are kind of irrelevant for whatever reason, then we can kind of tweak it as we go along. But it is like, I understand that all the engineers are working on this repo all day, every day. You know, if you're constantly getting errors, even if they are pink and cute with my theme, it's still kind of a pain. So yeah, but yeah, we could look into, I just don't want to fail the pipeline for these types of things, but you know, we could.
I'll chime in. Like an advantage, I agree. We don't want to fail the pipeline and we don't want to create a messy error warning pipeline, but it's also really hard to find an issue if the pipeline does fail. And then you have to go search through those jobs and there's just like line after line of like thousands of errors. Makes it hard to find out what actually broke it. So it's like would be good hygiene just to start fixing all this.
I guess it's similar to, I guess, the recent, the link checker, the 404 link checker, similar, I guess, issue where it can spit out problems, but it's up to us how we want to fix those problems and who wants to take on those problems. So maybe it spins up an issue or whatever, each iteration. I can look into kind of how to handle these errors. Yeah. Okay, things that went well. Justin, you have the first.
Cool. Yep. So thank everyone. Everything kept moving. Well, half of everyone was out at the offsite, and communication was key. I know that some people who were gone, they were slow to respond, but communication was still good. Things kept happening. So I just want to thank everyone for all the hard work that that you did to get all the pages out.
Yeah, I wanted to thank, I guess, whoever was involved in the spreadsheet that I linked there. It has all of the Q4 due dates for all the work upcomings, split up by team and expectations. So that's really cool and neat. I know it's not a GitLab issue, but we have all that in an Epic also. It's just nice to see it all laid out. Thank you, Philza, and I assume Lauren and Justin and Michael, whoever had a hand in that. But yeah, super cool.
That was all Phil's up.
Yeah, Felza.
It was a Google feature. I love it, but yeah.
I put one in there. Thank you, Miguel, Carrie, and John for pushing a quick iteration to our nav that we got out on Monday, and then we pushed another one on Wednesday. So good job. Okay, I'm next.
I just had a question about the nav. Did we end up using the alpha release kind of cycle? Did that work for us?
We did.
Okay. Is that good? Is that bad? I'm writing the handbook page.
No, it worked. It did work. We published 2.1.0 too soon to NPM. We wanted to wait to publish that until we were done with all of our fixes.
Okay. Work in progress.
Yeah, when you have that handbook MR, tag me and Miguel on that so we can make sure it's, yeah. One things to improve on. This is like I got lost in a review because there's conversations happening in multiple places, issue and MR. There's an example for that partners page. So I don't know if the action is there. I think that's just sometimes the reality we live in. But if I'm feeling it, I'm sure our stakeholders are going to have a hard time also. I'll pause there for a sec. I think I may have caused that also by making the scope of the original issue maybe too big. Maybe scoping down that request. Something I should have done at the beginning. Yep. The second one, in our MR descriptions, make sure you're writing out what's changed, why it's changed, all the things you need to know about that MR. Just linking back to the issue isn't enough. When I'm looking at an MR, I don't want to have to click on something and have two windows open. Ideally, I want it all right there. And for example, if you're doing an MR for the product, you need to say what's changed, why, have screenshots, and then steps to reproduce how to verify this locally. So all the stuff's right there, which makes it easier to review. And that becomes especially important as the MR gets more complicated and bigger.
Well, I will stop the recording there. Thank you, team, and we will see you next time.